So, welcome to the panel, how AI is changing our lives and our workforce structure in the first place. So we can begin. And now let's proceed to the first slide. This was just for the intro. And if you ask yourself what this movie is about, it's actually an old movie. Yeah? It's not working.
Yeah, you need to use your voice.
I need to use my voice better. Okay. So this video we were looking at is called The Employment, and actually describes how people are getting reduced to a function. What happened now? Okay. Yeah, and this is maybe our destiny. We'll see. If we will be reduced to a function like a chair or a lamp, while intellectual work will be we will let to AI to do. So let's now represent our panelists today. We have 4 of them, and great, thank you for participating in this panel. We have actually, you will represent yourselves, but you can see who they are. They will tell you very soon. These are panel perspectives for today. We have one perspective from the Microsoft, Mr. Ilya Feinberg. And then he will discuss the topics from Microsoft perspective. Then we have Jukka. Sorry, I have to check. Jukka Niiranen, right? Okay. I think that most of you knows Jukka from the online conversations where he appeared to be very critical thinker about many things, including AI. Then we have Kurt Hatlevik. I mean, he's like a very famous person from F&O world, like expert, also community leader, MVP, and Jukka himself was MVP. For many years, I mean 11 or something, right? And then we have an alien here, Mr. Mateusz Czerne. He's also a great expert, but he's coming from another space, SAP. But at the same time, he will represent the perspective of education point of view. And Kurt will be presenting from delivery perspective, and Jukka is independent voice. So, and we have Microsoft voice. So, do you want something to add here? Did I do a good presentation of you? Yeah. Do you have something to add, really, to represent yourself? Maybe, Mateusz, you can say why we agreed that you participate in this panel, because we say from education perspective, and you are still working at SAP partner.
Yeah, so apart from working at the SAP, and I see that your face up that you don't like me already, so I've been organizing hackathons for the past 12 years. I actually co-founded the largest hackathon in Slovenia, which is called Vegapack. And we are hosting around 150 people each year. It used to be in May, now it's in April. Next year, probably it's going to be back in May. And yeah, we get a lot of students and also a lot of companies trying to get those students to come work for them. And hackathons are really a great way to find out which talent source into your companies. But with AI and with agents, now this is getting a bit more difficult. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about this.
Yeah, we will talk about later. And the structure of the panel will be the following. We will first see some slides. Unfortunately, you will not will be able to see it, but the audience will be. And after that, we are going to proceed to the panel's question or topics. First topic will be AI at work today from your perspective, then junior work and future experts, then leadership and accountability in the today's world, and AI endgame. These are like 4 topics. But now let's proceed for the first slide. So you can see on this slide, these are our AI leaders today. So do you recognize some of these faces, and do you have some favorite, let's say, I mean, for you, Ilya, probably Satya Nadella, right? Or Mustafa Suleyman?
I don't know. I don't know. I can certainly admire people who are...
A microphone, yeah?
I can certainly admire people who come from different organizations and different perspectives. It's not a secret that AI, the way it is, and technology in general, was not built by one person or one organization. We, as Einstein said, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's very much true for AI as well. So,
yeah, but somehow they are competing, you see, and they are all men. We can see that they're all men. And the next slide is tier 2. Pardon, tier 2 is only women, but very supportive roles, not the main roles. And
I wouldn't call Lisa Su tier 2, to be honest.
Okay.
But okay.
Okay, the first one may be CEO at AMD because they are chips. Okay, but let's see the fast-growing companies. What about that?
Wow, that's
we can see it's
really
very
difficult.
intensive boys club, right?
Yeah.
So this was very interesting angle for me, because I really asked myself, why is that? Maybe some of you dare to comment. Why there is no women there? Kurt, you look like someone who knows the answer.
Women? Well, I think there is a lot of women working in AI.
Yeah, but not, yeah. No. I really asked hard. I really researched hard, but I didn't find any, young founder.
Maybe they are delivering instead of promoting themselves.
Okay. Let's hope this is true. So let's proceed next. And now, actually, we can go to the first real topic. AI at work today. What is actually changing today? And I would really love to hear your answers from your personal perspective, how you are doing today with AI within your company. So let's start with Kurt. You raise the hand. Okay.
Happened last week. All of you have probably created these Microsoft support cases. All of you have experienced that when you create a support case, then you suddenly see that AI is coming in and answering your questions. And I don't like those agents. So I create my own agents who creates support cases. So, and I know the people on the other hand, which kind of receive these support cases. And so I connected in with them first and say, okay, let's now test this. So I let my agent create a support case, which your agent is kind of receiving. And it did flawless. It created the support case, it described the problem. This agent replied back what it should basically be. I mean, just sit there and saw it. And I asked him, should we go and take a beer? Because it's amazing. So it's a lot of stuff happening. So that's my latest experience, basically, where agents are really helping us up, really allowing us to communicate and find solution to fix this stuff we never had.
Okay, so this was very positive perspective, actually. But you, Kurt, wrote a blog article called Order 66. So it sounds to me very depressive. What about that story?
Well, Order 66 is, of course, a reference to the Star Wars. Basically, asking yourself, we as a partner, how are we structured? How are we built? How much overhead do we have in our organization? How much is actually delivering value to our customers? And what business see among the customers today is that they require the deliveries to be faster, to be cheaper. And in order to do that, we probably cannot be the same type of partners as we are today. We need to change, and we need probably to embrace basically the AI, what that is doing in the projects we have. And we need to change, we need to be cheaper and faster, then also somebody probably needs to go. So that's the core concept here.
Okay.
That there will be some changes in how we deliver and how many people is actually in an implementation. Because if you look at implementation, what is the main cost driver? It's the number of people delivering hours in a project. And if you want it to be cheaper, you need to deliver few hours in those projects.
Okay, but let's now continue. Ilya, we will come to you, but not yet. Let's ask Mateusz from the point of view from SAP, like SAP partner. Did customers already ask you to change something in your delivery? Did they ask you for your, how can I say, AI vision, strategy of the company or something like that?
I mean, for me, I think the main thing that's changed in my work process, so I work in AI. Before it was called the machine learning and whatever, the data mining and so on. So I've been working there for 10 years. And I think even 3 or 4 years ago, we had a lot of problems just explaining what AI is and how they could use it and what the use cases at their companies were, because the clients didn't actually know that they are already using a lot of solutions in their personal life, or just that they didn't know the use cases that there were. And we had to spend a lot of time to educate them, to show them what the good things are about it's AI now, or machine learning back then. And I think none of the clients really had any idea how this works and how long is it going to take for us to make it work for them. And right now with chats, co-pilots, and now agents, I think the expectations on the client sides are really high. They all are in a way using it, either talking with chats or co-pilots for their personal stuff, or when they are doing some documents in Office or something. And they expect the same things to happen also in the business apps that they're using. But the reality is that they don't have the governance and all the other things that they should have already set up. And there are a lot of issues just connecting all the different systems and all the different solutions that they're using into one in order to be able to use AI on top of all those solutions.
Okay, now let's proceed to Ilya and ask him maybe to, because Microsoft is the frontier company and also have frontier program for advanced companies like Kurt's company and Mateusz's company, and luckily Yuka doesn't have a company. So, okay, Ilya, as an AI native company, what actually you do internally? So, do you have smaller teams? I was listening to many podcasts about flattening the organization. There are some kind of, let's say, individual contributors who is working only with digital workers. So how can you give us some insights from Microsoft itself? It would be very, very interesting to hear.
Sure. So in terms of kind of how ignoring the product itself, the way it's been implemented by Microsoft for customers, the question is, also how do we use AI internally in our day-to-day life? And I can tell you that within Microsoft, it has always been the case. I'm at Microsoft for 10 plus years, and even before that time, it was always been a policy that we kind of eat our own dog food, right? So whenever we build something, there's 100,000 Microsoft employees that test that in their day-to-day life and day-to-day work for months and sometimes a few years before that goes out into customers. Like right now, for the past 6 months, I've been using an AI, which you will likely get it in about 3 to 4 months, right? And I can tell you that it's a huge leap forward. So we are very much incentivized to use AI in anything that we do.
What does it mean, incentivize? Because I heard that this can be also part of performance management, and if you are not performing well, then you get fired. That actually some companies already did in Slovenia.
Let me tell you, if you don't perform well in any company, regardless of AI, you're probably not going to do very well. The thing is that incentivize meaning that you are being given tools that you previously didn't have, and before anyone else would have them, to understand how you can apply them in your own life, to learn them, to intuitively understand how to use this tool for different tasks that you have in life. Like, how do I organize my day? How do I organize the work with my customers? How do I create new documents? Like, this whole situation evolves for us now so that we can, in 6 months, come to a customer and say, it's not just I'm starting to sell you something. This is how I actually work, right? I'm the example of how it's being done, and I'm willing to show you how I work so that you can do the same. I can give you like a very small example for this conference, for DynamicsMinds. For the past, I've been here fourth year in a row, right? For the past 3 years, I never used the template that Miro sent me to use for the presentation because it's hard, it takes time. This year, having this more advanced AI, I just build the content, and I said, here's the template, figure it out. I literally just said that, nothing else, no additional instructions. And it did. And it works, and it looks better than I ever could make it myself in like 5 hours. Right? This is kind of the small things that really enhance your life. I spent that 5 hours doing something else much more productive than building presentations and templates.
Could you please give some opposite example of positive? I mean...
Opposite of positive, negative, you mean?
Yes. Yes, because I heard there now you flattened the organization, many small teams, how these teams communicate between each other. And the second question, how you navigate through all these changes, because you are, as you said, at the front row and you need to walk the talk, right?
Yeah, that's the most difficult part. We literally had this conversation this morning with some other colleagues that in the 10 years that I'm at Microsoft, I think that I have changed my role, my profession, and like what I do and how I think like 10 different times. I literally had 11 different managers and at this time. And every year, we are being told what are the goals for next year. Like what my role definition was last year is not the same as it is this year. We change very rapidly, and we try to adopt as much as possible, and that really takes an effort. The way AI helps me doing that is that I'm able to use AI to catch up with all the things that I need to learn and I need to do. So kind of as an example, in terms of like internet communications within the company, previously, there's 100,000 people at Microsoft, even more. If you want to find the right engineer or the right product manager for the right feature that you want to investigate, or there's a bug in it or something like that, it would be like endless conversations to find the right person in teams, or who is responsible for what, who does what. That's hell. 2 weeks ago, I built a skill for GitHub Copilot that does that. It literally searches for everything that we have in the organization structure and finds me the right person. That the question of who is the PM for feature X is like almost a joke with Microsoft because no one knows. And now I have an AI that tells me that.
But this
in
is
5
also
seconds.
A positive example, right?
This is a positive.
Is there any negative example?
The negative example is this. The negative example is that I have so much tools that I think
they're all
the
called
imagination.
Copilot, right?
Huh?
They're all called Copilot.
That's also an issue. Okay, so Microsoft marketing needs an AI to figure it out, right? That's true. I think that they will agree with me. But the issue is that the tool is larger than the imagination that I have or pretty much anyone else has on how to use them. So we have more tools than we know what to use them for. And I think that in the next months and years, we are going to still try to figure out, even with the current technology, how to apply it in a way to multiply our productivity and what we can do. That's the biggest challenge, to figure out, when you're like an artist, you start with a blank page, what do you do? That's the most horrible feeling in the world. But when things come together, you start feeling that. And if you don't live that every day, like this kind of AI-enabled life, you will never figure it out. If you'll never force yourself to think, how I have this problem. How do I solve that with AI? Like consciously make that thought. How do I solve that with AI? You will never learn to work with that tool. The same way that if you have a new colleague and you want to learn how they think and work with them better, you have to work with them. You cannot just, read their LinkedIn profile and figure it out. Same thing.
Okay, thanks. And now let's proceed to Yuka, because Yuka looks like a man with a lot of feelings. So I will ask Yuka to explain how do you feel about this shift our co-panelists are describing. How do you feel? Are you maybe, how can I say, very excited? Or maybe you feel maybe a bit anxious? Or maybe dependent, or maybe
all of those things.
Maybe even addicted, because I heard that some people got addicted. So, are you more creative? I mean, Ilya said all these things very positive. I mean, and a bit anxious, I would say. But what about you, Yuka?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working as a solo consultant now for 2 years. So during all that time, there's been an LLM around me. So all my colleagues have always been agents or AIs in my work that I've been doing now. And yeah, I mean, I kind of hate the word game changer, but it really has changed my game a lot, because my game used to be PowerPoints and now it's VS Code. Because I've never learned how to write code. I've always gone from the low code angle. I've been the citizen. I came from the business side, started administering CRM, started then consulting, being a functional consultant, and I never touched the code side.
So you got addicted to vibe coding, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been able to go far deeper now than ever before, and it's all thanks to the AI coding agents. But yeah, at the same time, it's just unlocked new ways for me to spend time. Has it made me more productive? Well, no, but it allows me to do more. Do I work less? No, I work more because of the
I heard
addiction.
that because agents actually never sleep. So you need to keep going.
That's definitely
some kind of addiction, actually, right? I don't know. It seems to me like we have to do, they are not sleep, we should not sleep as well.
Yeah, it's
No?
incredible how I need to multitask in a one-man company now, because there are, on all screens, there's some other agent waiting for my feedback and giving me ideas about what I could be doing, and because they always agree that it's a great idea, which is the big trap there, and which is probably why all the CEOs love AI, because it always agrees with their great ideas. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but personally for me, I mean, it's a massive boost into what I can start doing and what I can do on my own.
So you feel augmented somehow, right? Empowered. Augmentation is the right expression.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, I realized that it's just allows me to do more, but that that's not the end goal. The world is not better if we create more apps or agents or more technology, but rather we should be deciding on what to spend our attention on. And that attention span really is eroding, because we get instant answers that look credible into any question, and we can no longer validate that if something looks professional, then was it done by a professional or not.
We will get to this about when we come to
Sure.
accountability, okay? But now let's talk with Mateusz or maybe Kurt. The both are suitable to answer this. Do you work with digital workers? You said you have agent, but how does it look? Did you deploy like a real, like a real team members, some junior? I don't know. No.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Not yet. So I've not gone into having my own assistants who kind of helps me. So
But now you can, because yesterday on the keynote we heard that OpenClaw got embedded into Microsoft, right? Claw pilot, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, but,
So?
back to the other question you have. I have one word.
And I've been thinking about the word, how to describe it. And I'm feeling that it could be we're ending up in something we call business anarchy. The reason why I said business anarchy is because everybody now has some fantastic tools that we never had. We can answer any question. We can say whatever we'd like. And I could also see in our own company that you suddenly see people say, I really like Anthropic. I really like OpenAI. I really like Copilot. And they're still building reports that Excel that show everything. And suddenly we see the managers, you say that, well, my workers know more than me. And they are wondering, how should I control this? Well, Microsoft says you have to run everything through Copilot and everything. Then you have governance and security. That's not what's happening. What is happening is people is taking Excel spreadsheet, putting it into their own model, bringing up their own values, numbers, defining their own processes. Suddenly you end up in a company who have many different processes. They are not co-aligned. They're not the same. And it's also very difficult to kind of bring them together so that you're working as one organization.
Who is responsible for bringing this together? Who is responsible in your company?
Right now, we have a few who is working on it, but it's very hard when the others have so good models on their own. So that's why you get the anarchy piece of it, that suddenly you have a disbursement within the company and probably should do things.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mateusz, maybe you have something to add, or maybe to wait for your expert. Okay, then let's proceed to the next slide. And this slide is not connected to any question. Actually, this is like a statement what we handed over to AI and what becomes more human. I'm not sure that this will stay human in the future, but also it was interesting for me to also research a bit. Is there any globally answer to this shift? And very interestingly, not in US and Europe. I mean, no some AI in the national programs for education or something like that. For example, Singapore, China, even United Arab Emirates, Estonia, okay, from Europe. And there is an initiative I found very interesting, Khan Academy. I didn't hear for that. This is like AI teaching you how to learn. It's just a slide. Let's proceed to the next topic, junior work and future experts. So, Mateusz, this is your topic. So, you work also with juniors at your work, but also you are in tight contact with students. So maybe you can elaborate your opinion how actually these young people will get some expertise if there is no, let's say, struggle during the learning journey has changed. So what do you think about that?
I think one of the main things I got while studying at the university was the adaptability, and I learned how to learn different things. Or there were semesters where we would need to go through 3-4 languages or different technologies in a semester and do projects in all of them. And you really had to learn what are the, let's say, the positive sides of each technology and what are the negative sides. And you also learn where to use it and how to use it. And I think maybe the students now or the juniors now, they are like unintentionally robbing themselves of this learning process because they outsource everything to the agents or co-pilots or whatever. And I think maybe we as the society, or we as the community of developers or companies that employ a lot of developers, should be thinking in a way that we need to empower those students or those juniors to learn with AI, but not just, let's say, just delegate everything to them without a critical thought on it, and to try and gain. So I think their advantage should be to learn faster with AI, but not just put everything into the chat and let the chat decide what's the best thing for the problem that they're having.
Yeah, I also heard that when you are able to pick or to select or to choose between a human junior and a digital worker junior, digital worker are learning so fast. I mean, so maybe Kurt, you can tell us how your company approaching this onboarding and career development now. Do you actually hire juniors anymore, or?
Not much.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to know that the cash
really counts when it comes to things. So yes, if we take in juniors, it is for a specific task that they should be doing. But I'm seeing that juniors will really struggle here in it. They will really work hard to get a job. And the question is basically who wants to pay it for it. All of us would like juniors to come in. All of us understand the importance of coming in. But it all comes down to cash and costs. And I'm quite pessimistic regarding that. So none of my kids are going to have blue-collar jobs. They are electricians because I believe that electricity will last us.
Oh my God, this is very extreme.
One which is within healthcare. So I suggest going that direction because they will actually be consumers of the kind of technology we have. So sorry, juniors.
Yeah, what do you think? Okay, Yuka said that he's not a developer, but Ilya, have you been a developer before?
Yeah, I actually started my career as a developer when I was 15 years old.
Yes. And now, having developers replaced completely by AI, as we heard so many times by CEOs of Anthropic and so on. Also from Mustafa Suleyman, that all white-collar jobs will be replaced, automated, let's say, in a year or so. What is your take on that?
All right, so when I became a developer, and when I kind of was little, I wanted to do stuff with computers, it wasn't to write code, right? I didn't want to become a coder. I wanted to become a problem solver. I wanted to become someone who built something. So if I can build something cool without writing code, I'm all for it. Like writing code is not the goal, right? The goal is to do something with that. And today, if I can vibe something instead of writing that, I can still write in like 6 or 7 different languages if I have to. But I don't have to, and I don't want to, especially if it's JavaScript. I can vibe it. I can check that it works, or I can use another AI to check that it works. And to me, it's perfectly fine. With the recent models from Claude and from GPT-5.5.
Is it true that in Microsoft nobody else do coding anymore? Is this true?
It is absolutely not true. There's still quite a lot of coders. Let me tell you what would be the difference between the juniors of today and the juniors of tomorrow for coding and many other tasks.
Okay.
It was always been true that the people who are valuable are not people who are do some certain task very well, but people who can adapt well and people who can solve problems. And doesn't matter, even if you're a junior, you can be that kind of person, and if you're a senior, you just can solve more complex problems. The thing that AI gives you is essentially that juniors will have to become not just individual contributors. Juniors will have to think of themselves as middle management. Juniors will have a team of agents to do whatever they need to do, and they need to think in this way, like not how do I do it myself, how do I create tasks and delegate it to the right resources, to the right agents to complete these tasks.
Okay, does Microsoft hire juniors today?
Yes, they do. I mean, I don't know the statistics, to be honest. I'm not going to tell you, but there is a lot of integration between Microsoft and universities and students. There is a lot of programs like Aspire and all of those programs to bring people right
So
up.
Microsoft believes in junior?
I'm not going to speak for Microsoft, as an organization, the DPR department. I just see that, yes, there's a lot of young people coming in.
This is encouraging. This is very encouraging because Kurt said that his company doesn't believe in juniors anymore. But
I think this is, we just now are at a shift. I mean, the same shift that we had like in the 90s when the internet became a thing, when we all were saying, oh, the information superhighway is going to solve all problems. We will have access to all information. There will not be any stupid people anymore. Of course, there are still stupid people, right? We always had the kind of people who want to do something, who want to succeed, and people who don't want to, right? And people who want to succeed and are intelligent and want to solve problems, they will always find a way to do that.
yeah, but internet wasn't owned, by a few companies.
AI is not owned by a few companies. There's plenty. If you look at the world of open source AI, there's a lot of that.
Okay. So we somehow democratized AI already.
If you look at the current models, for example, DeepSeek, Qwen, Kimi, and so on, yes, they are not at the same level as, let's say, the most advanced Claude Opus or something like that, or Claude Mythic. But they are very, very close in many tasks, and you can certainly do a lot with that. The difference between the commercial model and the open source model is the same way as between installing Linux and Windows. Linux, you have to know what you're doing. You have to spend a lot of your time to do it. Windows, you just click install it, and it's done. But you pay for it.
Yeah, you pay also for upgrades, which are not working. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
sorry. Sorry, this was malicious. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, Yuka, maybe you can comment what you heard just now from Ilya. Do you agree with him on his take?
Yeah, I agree a lot with that because I see really the biggest threat is probably for the middle managers, not the juniors in the end, because juniors really will adapt to things like probably many of us have been like geeks when we were young, and then we figured out a way to like make a living out of this, but we didn't really know, I mean, the skills needed in our first job, but we just like ran with it. And I mean, I was a kid of the 90s, and my first real job was like year 2000, just before dot-com bubble burst in mobile companies. Nokia was big in Finland, of course, and that was the kind of the bubble at that time. Now the bubble is AI, LLMs, and those things will keep on happening, and the bubbles will keep on bursting, but it's not going to like mean that the things that we build and we learn to do are worthless. So I kind of see that the kids will be all right. They will be a lot better at like, yeah, I mean, then we get to the whole societal question about like, how do we distribute wealth, which is a bigger topic.
Because companies already doing something, don't hire juniors, empower juniors. Universities, not so much. Individuals do a lot, right? And what is the future of the open source? Maybe someone else can answer, because open source got overbloated with the AI-generated code. I heard a lot of scary stuff about GitHub also. Nothing to comment. Okay. Let's then proceed to leadership and accountability. Who owns the outcome? So you said, I don't know, maybe Mateusz didn't talk for a while. In the end, when you have so many agents and AI tools, and actually myself, I use a lot ChatGPT as epistemic authority, like ChatGPT said. But he's so much smarter than me, right? So I reference to my colleagues that ChatGPT said this, and this is true for sure. So I'm failing as well. So, but who owns the outcome? If ChatGPT said this is the great idea, and we implement it in the end, what will happen with this accountability?
I think the accountability should always be on the human or on the one that's actually doing something.
Yeah, it should, but
I think the main problem is not the accountability, but as I said before, I think it comes with agency, because if you know how to do something, if you know how to validate something, then you can be held accountable to doing that. And I think I saw in a session today before that someone from Microsoft said that we should have AI licenses.
Okay.
The same way as we have car driving licenses, and so on. And
this might be a good idea. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not totally for that, but I think it's not a bad idea to start thinking on how to empower people to be able to use AI with agency, and also be accountable to the things that they do. Because I think a lot of, let's say, co-pilots or LLMs right now, they have some guardrails. They prevent you from doing something stupid or from learning something stupid that you shouldn't do. But I think with open source models, and I think this area is going to expand even more in a few years, or even in a few months, possibly, when the hardware becomes cheaper. And I think then there will be models that will be able to make problems for everyone, not the ones who are using it, but for the people that will use the models to gain knowledge that they shouldn't have, or to do things that they shouldn't have. And at the end, they will just say, okay, yeah, I got that from, I don't know, ChatGPT or the open GPT model that will be available to them.
Kurt, you have something to add?
Yes, I have a question for you. You know what area actually us humans are much better than AI? Is in poker. Because in poker, you have your hands, you bluff, you raise, you throw. And if you think about that, that is pretty much also what distance is. So we negotiate, we give say, okay, I'll give you a discount this time, but next time you need to pay more. And having that kind of process means that the human in the loop is actually important, which also turns back to who is responsible when we're also using AI. So I think that the human will still be important in the business world, just because we don't have all the facts, we don't have all the data. So the AIs, they will reason around the data they basically have, but they don't lie the same way as we humans do. So I think that the governance element still have a place also in the long run.
I mean, I completely agree, but we didn't found authority to do the governance yet. So we are somehow, we have very, very fast pace, and this is maybe the problem. So let's talk about what is the AI endgame. This is like your final take for today, like some conclusion. What do you think about AI regulations? What will be, you see, I also, you don't see, but I also read about zero human companies, like, you know, that AI will run the whole world. This is the one extreme, and the other extreme, you know what they say. They say we have like two roads. What do you think? Where we will end up? In some kind of utopia or dystopia? I mean, it will be positive. It will be positive outcome for the humanity, or not so much. Maybe each of you just to say.
Yeah, maybe I could start. So I don't think AI is going to be the deciding factor on whether it's going to be dystopia or utopia. So it's a tool that we can then choose to use in a way, and that can, of course, distort the distribution of wealth that was mentioned here. But then it's not AI's fault, of course. It's rather like, do we then allow unlimited usage of it for any purposes, for weapons and all those things? And I mean, what is society in the end? It's about common rules and regulations. That's all there really is to it. We agree that we are not going to rob or murder each other, and that's how we then are able to live together. So that's something that we also the need for this new layer that didn't exist. So it's kind of, it's power. It's not like violence, but it's the cognitive power that is now needs to have some guardrails and agreements on like what do we accept as society.
Yeah, but all the time we somehow talk in passive voice. What we can do? Can we change anything here in the room? Maybe Ilya, and then all of you, just the final words. Can we change anything, or we are just playing along and, I don't know, hoping for the best? What needs to change? What needs to happen that we are more in charge?
It's difficult to say that we are here in the room can really affect the world in a massive scale. Technology and science, they tend to get away from under us, right? Whenever new technology or science comes in, we need to actively decide what do we do with that as a society, as a world, as a country, whatever structure we are in. I mean, going back to to rockets. Some rockets were launched into space as expeditions. Some rockets were launched as bombs to destroy other people. Same technology exactly, applied very, very differently. The way that we here in the room can do it is that we can make sure that wherever we come from, that we make sure that we are part of the conversation, part of our government, part of our system, that our voice is heard, and that we can enable our leaders to understand what is it that we want, especially if we live in a democratic country. You should not expect companies to be good or bad, like saying, I don't know, company X is good, and company B is bad. Companies, they are living organisms that operate within certain parameters. Those parameters are being set up by citizens and their governments. And let me tell you, companies, even as big as Microsoft, really like regulations, because that means that we know by which rules we can play. If there's no regulations, if it's a jungle, then it's difficult for companies to exist and for people to exist, and then we have to rely on the kindness of strangers and the kindness of corporations to make the right decisions. And that's just not the way to go, in my opinion.
Very good ending, because I changed the slide. You couldn't see it. And it's actually, let's say, make your message even stronger. There is actually an organization called Center for Human Technology, which is a global organization, and they recorded a video, Social Dilemma, on Netflix. This was documentary, how social media affect us. And now they also recorded the video about AI. Kurt.
I have one thing I'd like to say. Start locales.
Okay. But now maybe Mateusz to say something for the very end.
Yeah, I think that's a really great advice to start looking up, and also to start so keep yourself accountable to the things that you're doing, and also to when you do use, I mean, of course we all use it, and we'll use it even more now, all the co-pilots and on, but just I don't want to say be careful, but just apply your critical thinking to all the results that you get, and see whether the output really makes sense in a way that you expected it to.
Yes, and we as a conference also want to support Center for Human Technology. So after the conference, now during the conference you can create digital workers at the venue, and we will make a virtual gallery of all these digital workers you created. So you will be able to donate just to enter the gallery, and we will donate to this Center for Human Technology, who is really trying to make somehow AI globally regulated. They probably will fail. But let's donate anyway. Let's hope for the best. So I think that now we need to finish. Thank you very much for this panel, and a big applause, please.